Hey, okay, so before we actually get into the video of how to make moccasins, I did want to kind of go through the materials that I use and kind of tell you where I get them and stuff, and how I do it. We're gonna go into pattern making in a different video because pattern making itself is like a whole other world. You can like pre-download some patterns, or if you know, you can buy patterns and stuff and maybe ask your friends if they have any patterns. But if you have access to a pattern, that's cool. But if you learn how to make your own, you can start making moccasins for anyone, any size, it doesn't matter. For pattern making, you're gonna need like a ruler. I use protractors, and I also sometimes I'll use they're like those spinny things. I don't even know what they're named, but anyway, this is for baby moccasins, so these are for like 0 to 6 months, and these are for toddlers. They're for twin girls. They are, I forget what size they are, I think they're like a size 6 or something, but these are for some twin girls here. And the holes, these are hole punched, but when you're transferring that onto your leather, you're not going to want to use the hole puncher, you're going to want to use an awl. So that's what I use anyways, this awl here. And this is like a pointy object thing, I forget what it is exactly, I don't know the proper name, but it's very pointy. This I usually use it for porcupine quill work. It's really nice, I like it for porcupine quills. You can also use a hat pin and stuff, or just even a tack, but this is a really good tool. I really like it. They're only like $3. I don't know if I can find them on the internet, but I'll try to find them for you guys. These awls, I'm pretty sure you can just get them anywhere. They're a really useful tool to have, just for lots of different art. So I would suggest getting an awl. So the reason I say an awl is because you're gonna want to poke your holes into here instead of actually using a hole puncher. I found a lot of people use hole punchers, but in my personal experience, this looks a lot better because it leaves like the hole big enough for you to go through with a needle, the Glover needles, which they're really big, right? They go through leather, but they're just like small enough where it's not going to show like a big gaping hole in your piece. So yeah, so my leather and my furs, you can get them at a lot of different places. I get mine at Tribal Spirit Drums. It's like an indigenous owned, family run company that sells hand drums and leather and beads. They sell check beads. So like I usually get my fur there, and it's all sustainable. They get them from hunters who throw away their skins anyway, and they bring them to like a local tannery and stuff. Eventually I do want to tan my own skins and trap and hunt my own game and stuff, and start, you know, learning how to tan and do everything traditionally from scratch. But it is what it is right now, and this is where I get them. I'll put a link down below for them. They're really reliable. They're really, I've ordered from them the whole time I've been making moccasins. So next, you're gonna want to use a box cutter. Yeah, this is a box cutter. The box cutters are good for if you need to do like a straight line. This here is like some fur. I can show you how to cut it out here and sew it on. Another thing that you might want to consider getting if you're going to be making and working with fur a lot is a handheld vacuum cleaner. Oh, you might want one of these because working with rabbit fur is really annoying. It gets in your mouth, it gets in your eyes, makes you itchy. It's like just not a fun time picking up all like the fur that goes flying everywhere because it's so fine and soft. So you might want to consider getting one of these, like a handheld vacuum cleaner. And just because, another thing I guess for beading is you might want to get one of these. I don't know the exact name of this fabric here, but it's like kind of squishy, right? And it's easy to put your beads on, and they stay in one spot when you place them on there. So this is just for beading if you want to do a little beadwork on your moccasins. Also, as for thread, what I've been using on my moccasins is I use sinew. This is sinew. This one's synthetic, so it's made out of like nylon and stuff. And for these white moccasins specifically, I just got this from a friend. It's white sinew. So if you're doing beadwork and you're working with Nymo, it's a lot thinner than this stuff, which is just regular sewing thread. It's twisted. You can't really see it that well. So this will fray really easily, and it's really annoying, and it's thicker than Nymo. It's a lot thicker than Nymo. I kind of got the blue so you could try to see like the difference of the thickness, which you can't, but anyway, Nymo is a lot easier to work with, and it's a lot thinner, so you can go through beads multiple times with just one thread, if you know what I mean, because sometimes if you go through with a thick thread, your beads will bust. Put a link down below of where you can get beading supplies and some Nymo and stuff. I'm not much of a beader. I don't like beading. It's not my preferred choice of art, I guess, but I do it sometimes. It's good to have nice beads on hand. These right here, they're check beads, so they're famous for their bead to bead consistency, but it's good to have some nice beads anyways, just in case you want to add a little bit of beadwork to whatever you're doing or working on in indigenous art. So yeah, the next thing you're gonna want, for me anyway, when I'm making patterns and when I want to do something like beautiful on the moccasin like this, you're gonna want some felt. It's stiffened felt. You don't want to get the other stuff because it ends up all warped and not nice. And this is just, you're gonna want to get some tracing paper so you can make your own patterns of what you kind of want to bead. The tracing paper I get is just from Walmart, and you also will need this tracing paper for making patterns if you are interested in making patterns. So here we just have some needles. We have some Glover needles and just some regular needles here, like on the tomato. You're gonna need probably one of these, which is like a cutting board thing. You don't want to mess up anything, your tables or anything, because it's really annoying, especially if you're trying to draw on top of your tables and there's just like a bunch of cut marks on it. You might need some of these to secure in place whatever you want, whatever you're working on the moccasin. I'll probably show you while we're making them. You will need a lot of different scissors. I use this for like cutting my thread, this for cutting leather, and also this for cutting leather. Smaller scissors if you're cutting like a smaller like piece of leather, something that requires more attention to detail. Small scissors are nice. You might need some pliers. These I just got at Walmart, so you can get them anywhere. They don't need to be any special scissors or anything, but there is some special leather cutting scissors. And also you could just work with one pair of scissors. You don't need like a million like me either. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for supplies. If you have any questions, just ask me. So yeah, let's just get into making them and I will show you. I didn't finish the second moccasin of this one yet, but I have another pair and I will go through the process of beading with you, doing like the peyote stitch, and then I will go through the process of putting them together. So I can't really go through the process of pattern making right now, but I will show you me kind of doing some working with rabbit fur and other stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you watch the video and enjoy, and I hope it's really informative and that you can show your children. Okay, so also real quick before we get into the video itself, I just wanted to show you a pair of adult moccasins I made for myself. This is rabbit fur and moose hide, and the bottom I like kind of recycled from another pair of moccasins that was given to me. They were kind of like broken beyond repair, so I put them on my mocks. I really enjoy the children's moccasins though, because it's easier to like pay attention to that detail. But yeah, this maybe I'll do a pair of adult moccasins another time. I really feel like I could do a lot better. just since I've known how my skills have grown since I made these ones, which was a year ago. Usually after like a year, moccasins, they kind of can't use them anymore, but these have been going strong, so I'm really proud of them. Made them sturdy. Yeah, so before we start crafting the actual moccasins, I'm just gonna get the beadwork out of the way. I don't really like beadwork that much, just because it's really tedious for me, so I kind of just want to get it out of the way before I craft the moccasins. I really enjoy crafting moccasins, and I do it pretty fast these days anyway. So you just gotta get your design. I do want to save this design just for other uses. Maybe I'll do like another pair of moccasins with a similar or the same design. This was just under here, but my thingy wasn't working. So you're gonna need some stiffened felt, and then what you do is you just kind of cut it out. Leave a little bit of space, like ½ an inch, for the design, because you're gonna staple it on, just on the corners right here. Okay, so what you're gonna need for beading is your beads, Nymo. Nymo is the Japanese thread that you can get. I will link that down below if I can find any. You can get them in little spools. Usually the big threads are very expensive, so I get mine in little spools at my school. And you need beeswax, and I think that's it, besides like your little scissors and stuff. But yeah, so get started then. Oh my god, so I don't think I've ever been more happy and excited about finishing this beadwork. It took me 2 hours on both of these. When you're doing your moccasins, you can bead directly onto the leather. This time I chose not to. I don't know why. Probably because I was doing more like a bigger piece. But you could also just sew it onto felt just like I did and then place it on there. So right now we're going to be cutting this out, the shape of it, and then we're going to be sewing it onto here. And I do have to cut this so that it has like round edges, and then yeah, so I guess we'll just start now. Okay, so here, like I said, we are just cutting the edges to round them out. You can definitely cut the pattern to be already rounded out, but I prefer to do that because it leaves more room for creativity. And right now I'm just taking our Nymo and I'm gonna tie a few knots, probably like 2 or 3, usually 3, and leave a little bit of length. And then you're just gonna, after this, you're gonna sew your beadwork on with it. So you're just gonna clip on your beadwork with a clip that I mentioned earlier before, and then you're gonna just go through that with your Nymo. And as you can see here, I'm going in through the felt and down through the leather. So it's in through the felt, down through the leather, and yeah, so here's kind of like a close-up of me doing that and finishing it off. When you do finish it off, I'll show you here, I kind of just go through a few times in the back, and I think I'll show you. Alright, so I just finished sewing on my little flower or starfish shell type of thing onto my buckskin. So now I'm gonna tie it off. I should put on this. These are nice to have. It's just a little piece of leather you wrap around your finger to protect your thumb. So to finish this off, I kind of go like this, like that. And I just do a knot, like a simple knot, a couple of them. You see what I did? Okay. So let's try again. I do a few just to secure it. And usually later I'll go in with a lighter afterwards and kind of like melt down for extra security. So right here. Alright. Here you go. Okay, so here we are tracing out the flap from the original pattern, which can be found in the description box. The original pattern is about 10 inches in width and 3 inches in length. You're going to be measuring about a centimeter or more depending on the aesthetic you're going for with the moccasins. You're going to have to give just like a little bit of room for the flap to be sewn onto the platform. So right now we're just cutting that centimeter off from the original pattern. So I do like to use rulers. Some people don't use rulers. A lot of people will just eyeball moccasins. There's different techniques to moccasins, different uses, different intentions for some moccasins. I can probably go through the history and kind of like the different types of moccasins that people would wear. I will go through the pattern in another video though. I usually use inspiration from Anishinaabe and the Algonquin tribes. So yeah, so what I do is I kind of just take, usually it has to be very small, like a very, very small tip. Take my ruler. Hey, so like I was saying before, I would really recommend getting a handheld vacuum cleaner if you're serious about working with rabbit fur, because it will literally find its way into the deepest depths of your soul. Like, rabbit fur does not quit. Okay, so whatever like raggedy this is or anything, it's all gonna be trimmed. We're gonna have to trim it. So yeah, I think just vacuuming. So I'll leave you guys a link in the description as to where I bought my vacuum cleaner, because I bought mine online. So, oh, see, it goes everywhere. So all this is gonna have to be trimmed all around. Yeah. So these two panels are like the moccasins flaps, and that's where our fur is gonna go on. So our fur obviously needs trimming and a little bit of maintenance, but we're just gonna size it up, and we're gonna end up like cutting it here, here, and then we're gonna have to end up trimming the fur just like this. I'll show you. Well, sometimes people like that messy look, but oftentimes with rabbit fur you can't really get the full messy look with it. So what I was doing was just cutting it like this, so it's more of like a clean cut, which doesn't look half bad. It's not too bad. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. And then we're going to be sewing the fur onto the piece of leather. So we're going to go around the edge here, all along this edge, and down here. I don't feel a need to go here and sew. I usually just sew on the edge, and I'll show you the kind of sewing technique I use on the edges, which secures it down really nicely. And yeah, so right now I'm just gonna work on trimming the rabbit fur. You don't have to worry if it doesn't look proper right away, because it's all gonna come together. Just watch. It's gonna look beautiful. And don't be afraid to mess up. You can always start over, or you can always you know, use a seam ripper and cut it up. Yesterday when I was finishing up one of the moccasins, I flipped it over and I did it the wrong way, so I had to do it. I had to undo it and then redo it again after spending like a solid half an hour on it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah, you're gonna kind of want a nice clean cut. Just cut it a little bit just like that, even though it's not totally even, and then when it's all pieced together, it'll be a lot easier to cut it mina'ah or properly. Okay, so I have the rabbit fur all cleaned up, and this next step we're gonna need some Nymo, or you can use sinew depending on how you're feeling. Sinew and a glover needle, just like this, or maybe even a bigger one. Or you can just use this small beading needle. I've been rocking that. I find the deer hide is a lot easier to work with, and it's very thin, so it's easy to push this needle through. Plus it's really sharp, and Nymo is really thin, so it's not too hard. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna be sewing on the rabbit fur just like this. Anyway, I hope you can see it, but so we're gonna be sewing on the rabbit fur here, and then also on the edges right here, and then afterwards we'll go through and trim it up, all the fur and stuff, and then vacuum up the fur. I'm so grateful I have that vacuum. If I didn't have that vacuum, I'd be like itching my eyes right now. I do now. I don't know how long it's gonna take. Right now it's 3:23 in the afternoon, so I'll check back in with you when we're done sewing both of them. We'll see how long it takes. Okay, I'm back. If you notice your thumbs or fingers are starting to hurt or ache, this really helps. It's just, you just tie a little piece of leather onto your finger. It really helps big time. I would 10 out of 10 recommend, because look, when I'm pushing the little needle through, just like that, it's easier than actually jabbing my thumb with a sharp pointy object. So actually I did this the wrong way, because when you go forward into the fur, it's gonna pull out in the back just like that. So I should have gone the inside out. So I'm gonna have to redo it, but it's fine. Also, if you do this, it's easy to trim it if you wanted to. So I'll show you how to trim it real quick. Kind of just cut the little edges here. But yeah, when you're working with fur, it's such a task to try to make it yeah, you just trim it, it's no big deal. So you might want to secure your fur with some clips so that it kind of stays in one place and it's like proper aligned with the leather, the buckskin. So usually what I would do is go, I hope you guys can see it. Take my needle and go inside out into the fur. Okay, this is just to secure it in place and tie some knots, and I just go into the loop here to secure it in place, and then I kind of do, it's the same idea throughout the whole piece. I keep doing that same thing, but I keep moving over a little bit. But yeah, so you're gonna push it inwards like this. I hope you guys can see properly. Push it in. Oh. Okay, so you pull it just like this. Sometimes your rope will get all tangled up, especially within itself. So there's your loop there, and you're just gonna go into your loop, just like that, and then pull. Kind of be aware of like the fur. You don't really want the fur to get trapped into the loop, but if it does, it's no big deal. You can just trim it later. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this, and I'm gonna do it until it's finished. And yeah, so just as I'll do this like slow, just gonna go through on the edges. About a millimeter in, I'd say, and then go through the loop, just like that. Okay. Alright, so I was going to show you going in from the back, which might be a little easier for some people, including myself. Just push through just like that. And then you go into your own loop. There you go. So I hope you can see it. So you're gonna push in just like that. And go in through your loop. Tighten it up. You want it to be nice and secure. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. Okay, so I just finished up all of the lining, all of the sewing on like the fur. So yeah, it looks a lot better than it did with a little trim and stuff, and just paying attention to detail, I guess, is really important. So yeah, it all looks like that. Hold on, see if we can focus. Can't really focus, but maybe, yeah. So this is only one of them. The other one I have yet to do, and it's probably gonna take me an hour to do it. So yeah, it's 2 hours of work right here just sewing it. Hey, so I did want to quickly go over the pattern and kind of give you the measurements. I can take a picture of them and post them somewhere and give you a link in the description so you can have the exact measurements. I'll also place the exact measurements in the description. But right now we ended up with this, so we have a kit basically to make a set of moccasins. And I just wanted to kind of explain a little bit how I sized it out. So the woman measured her daughter's feet. She measured 3 inches wide and 9 inches in length. And then after you kind of like put their footprint, you kind of gotta like draw your own little footprint there. I kind of go out an inch away from the border, the foot. And then I give a little space for the these things here, the holes and where you're gonna sew into. So there's kind of like the platform, and then the next one would be like the tongue. So the tongue is kind of a little bit intuitive. You're going to, I was using these 2 different patterns and basing off these moccasins off these 2 patterns when I was making this pattern. They're actually on the wall. Hold on. Behind you. So when I was making this pattern, I was looking at these for inspiration, and these are, this one is for sure Anishinaabe, so and they look very similar to Mi'kmaq, so that's kind of why I chose it. And this one, I don't know exactly what tribe it could be from. If you know, you can let me know. If I find out, I'll leave it in the description. But these moccasins have already, like, I bought a pair for my son and I really like them, so I like the flaps and to tie them around like this. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, not at the heel, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of how I based my pattern off of. I kind of followed that for inspiration. I didn't really follow their measurements because I had separate measurements. But yeah, so when you're looking at this, okay. This would be your flap, which is what's gonna, you know, this is the thing that goes and you tie here. So this is your flap. So this was 10 inches and by 3 inches. And then these here, which is this clear paper I used for fur measurement, which was 2.3 inches instead of like so this is 3 and this is 2.3 inches. So to go over the fur, which is why we have like a little bit of a space here to sew them together. The rest of this video, I think I'm going to be doing a voiceover because I feel like when I'm making these, I kind of just want to be more in the zone. But I will give you guys some nice shots of me and a good explanation during editing. So yeah, so thank you if you made it to this portion of the video. Yeah, so right now we have 2 flaps, 2 tongues with your beadwork on it. You don't need to do it exactly the way I do it, obviously. And then we have our platform. So our platforms are going to need to be cut right here, which is how we're going to be able to fold it up like this and sew it together. So I will show you that. And this one is not cut yet, so we'll be cutting it with an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. And your sinew here, you're going to use a Glover needle to go through the holes here. And your sinew is about 45 inches long. You probably are not going to need a 45-inch per moccasin, but I got 2 45-inch lengths of sinew. I also got some beeswax and the Japanese thread. Anyway, I got some thread. I might run out soon, but this is, you'll see what it's for. It's to sew on the back here to the back of the heel of the moccasin itself, because let me just show you some detailing before I start making. So right now, actually, you may need a hole puncher, or you could just use your awl or something to punch a hole into here so that you can leave your string on and tie it on like that. So on the inside of this, which I still obviously need to burn off, there is a, let me just zoom in. See that? This decent. So this is what we're going to be using our thread for, is to sew the tongue part onto the this. But you don't have to use this thread, this skinny little thread. You can also use sinew. I just am running out low on white sinew, so I chose to use that thread instead. And so if you can see like some detailing here, this is kind of how we're going to be putting in the sinew as well. So we're going to have to be puncturing some holes in here, and then there's like a yellow thing in there right now, but basically this is the end result you're going to end up with. It holds up way better on someone's feet, but yeah, so I'll take some shots of this later maybe. But yeah, so yeah, I'll just get into the video and start making them. I just want to get lost in my own world for a bit while I'm crafting. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned and are able to I don't know, I just hope you're able to gain something from this, from watching this video, whether it's like relaxation or entertainment, or you're just curious or anything. Like, I'm just really grateful that you're watching. Hey, so what we're doing here is we're just cutting the heel of the foot so that we can piece the moccasin together as kind of like a heel. So you're gonna just be cutting those two little links there, and then you're gonna be rounding it out. And afterwards you're gonna be poking 3 little holes into it. But depending on how you made your moccasins, you're going to be putting like the shiny or smooth part of the leather face to face with each other, so that is the tongue and the platform. After you're done needling your sinew, you're going to just tie a couple knots at the end of your sinew and leave about 2 to 3 inches, enough that you can tie it at the end. So you're going to be going to the first 2 holes of your tongue and your platform, and you're just going to go through that, and you're just going to go through a couple of times, maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4, just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then just go through that loop again, just to really secure, because I find when you're making moccasins, a lot of the times it's not secure enough, and that's the first thing that is gonna fall apart, and then you're gonna be stuck doing repairs. So again, just keep doing that a couple of times, and at the end of it, you're gonna be tying that end tail piece with the rest of the sinew, and then you're just gonna go through the rest of the moccasin. When you're sewing this, you're going to want to do it exactly like I'm sewing it in this video. I don't know the exact name of this specific technique, but if you can see here, I'm going into one side and I'm going out on the same side, if that makes sense. And you're going to keep wanting to do that until you're at the very end of your 24 holes, I do believe, and then you're just going to keep doing that until you're done. So here we are at our very last hole, and you're basically going to be doing the same thing you did when you first started. You're just going to go through the very last hole a couple of times. You're maybe going to want to pull it so it's a little ruffled, so it gets like that ruffled look, and then you're just going to keep going through that same hole a few times and make sure it's nice and secure. And then go through the loop again to secure the knot. And after you're done cutting them to a small amount, you're gonna want to burn that to secure it even more. Burn it with a lighter and just press it down. Yeah, so after you're done, you're just gonna turn it back inside out, and now we're gonna be starting on the heel. So starting on the heel, you're going to be clipping kind of like the two flaps together so that it stays in one place, and then you're going to be puncturing 5 primary holes into the moccasin with your awl, tying off your sinew, leaving about a couple inches on the end at the tail end, and then threading your sinew, and then just going right through the middle hole. And from the middle hole going inside out, you're going to be going to on either side. You can go, I think on this side I go on my right, no, my left. Okay, so you're going to be going on your left, and then just back right through the middle hole, and then back onto the other side of the one of the holes you didn't go through yet, and then you're gonna go back onto the other side of like the holes and then back through the middle, and then through the middle you're gonna go one above, and then from there you're gonna go to the one above that, and then I think you're just gonna keep going in a couple times just to secure it a lot better. So you're gonna go through that hole, and then from here you're just gonna tie off the end. You're gonna tie the 2 end tails together a few times and make sure it's nice and secure, and then just cut it off. And you're gonna want to burn it and kind of press it down so that it's not this big lump that's there, you know. So yeah. So we're almost done crafting the whole moccasin, and the next step would be to clip your rabbit fur flaps to the back of your moccasin platform. Kind of fold it in half to find the center line, and then align that with the heel of your moccasin, and that's where you'll know where to clip it. And then you're gonna just wax your Nymo, thread your needle, and then starting from the center, making your way to the front on either side, using the very same sewing technique you used to sew the fur onto the flap. Sew it all the way to the front, but leave about an inch distance, and then you're just going to tie it off like you did the rest of the moccasin. So the next part of the process is adding the lace, and to create the lace you can basically use anything that's round. I would suggest using maybe like a coffee mug or something to kind of trace out the design onto the leather. It's just something round, or you can just eyeball it, and you're gonna cut it in a spiral and maybe leave about 1/2 centimeter as you're cutting it out. So as you can see here, I'm about to cut it, and I'm leaving about maybe like 1/2 centimeter, I'd say, and just cutting it in a spiral in one whole go. And then afterwards you're going to just stretch it, just lightly stretch it kind of, and run it through your fingers a bit. Okay, so the last and final step to this is adding the lace to the moccasin. So you're going to measure about halfway down the flap or rabbit fur part of your moccasin, and leave about like an inch or 2 in width. And you're just gonna use your leather hole puncher. If you don't have a leather hole puncher, don't worry about it. You can use maybe like your awl, or you can use a X-Acto knife or anything really. And then you're just gonna lace your moccasin up and just tie it around. I like to put a clip to ensure like the structure of the moccasin. And then you're just gonna tie it all around. Okay, so we're finally finished after, I want to say 16 plus 13 hours. Whatever that is. Because these were 16 and these were 13, so yeah. Okay, so thanks for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end. I wish I would have got better shots. This footage is just from my phone. I was really exhausted by the time I was done these. I stayed up for over 24 hours filming this entire video, and these were like the only shots I got. Plus I got a few pictures that I'm going to be inserting pretty much now. So yeah, just thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. I'm hoping to do a birch bark basketry with porcupine quill work embroidery onto it. It'll be a berry basket, and I'll give you guys the pattern and everything. So everything you need will be in the links down below. I'll give you guys my websites and stuff. If I forget anything, just please let me know. So yeah, no more best.